Hey, good morning, everybody. I hope you are doing well. Sorry we have a little sun situation here on my face, and it's probably just going to get worse. I think about, being kind and such all the time. First of all, I believe that's the morally correct thing to do, and I believe it's actually a moral imperative to do. But I also believe that it makes us happier. I mean, just the reality is, when I'm kind, I'm a happier person than when I'm not. And I've seen this so many times with other people. Generally, people who are truly happy, if you notice, they're usually kind as well, and vice versa. It's one of the best ways I know to live a good, meaningful life. So I think about this a lot, but I guess at this time of year particularly, as people's, I know this time of year, I think just people in general, there's a little softening. We maybe are a little more inclined to think about other people, and we'll see various initiatives around that people do to try to help the less fortunate. I was really incredibly blessed to come from a line of people who cared about that and who modeled it for me. And so I thought I might just share a few stories over the next week or two. But there's one that sticks in my mind so much. We always had, so I grew up as, coming from two large families. My mom was the oldest of 6, my dad was the oldest of 8. And most of us lived within 20 or 30 minutes of the grandparents. And so we had a lot of family gatherings over the years. Both sides of the family had a Christmas party every year. And this was my mom's family. My grandma loved music, and so singing and things like that were a big part of these gatherings. Well, there was this guy, it was my grandma's neighbor, her best friend. I don't think they probably had any family nearby. It was just the two, the mom and the dad, and then a daughter. And they were always at our family gatherings, especially like when it was at my grandma's house, because they just lived across the street. Anyway, these two, my grandma and her friend, were, if you ever seen the I Love Lucy reruns, I think they were kind of like Lucy and Ethel. Anyway, always had these people at our family gatherings, and to be honest, it sort of annoyed me a little as a kid. Like, wasn't that big a deal, but just mildly annoying. Like, why are they always here? They're not in the family. Well, when I was about 15, I had just started taking voice lessons. I was in high school and was, as many 15-year-olds are, fairly full of myself, fairly egocentric, and especially about singing and things like that, because I had been studying voice now for 6 months, so I knew everything clearly. We were at the Christmas party, and we're having like a talent show, and this guy, who was older by then, was probably in his 70s or 80s, he got up to sing "Oh Holy Night." If you know that song, it's really complicated. It's not an easy song to sing. It's very long. The range is tricky. It goes from fairly low to fairly high. There's the breath control you need is pretty significant. It's not an easy song to sing. And he got up and he started singing it, and it wasn't going well. And you could tell, like, he knew, you could just see on his face, it wasn't going well. And I think maybe his voice cracked or something fairly out of the gate. Well, I was being tolerant and supportive. I smiled with a, probably a pitying smile on my face. I wasn't trying to be rude. I just, when you're 15, you know everything, right? Anyway, it was getting awkward, because this is one thing 15-year-olds also know, is like anytime something's awkward. So my cousins and my sister and I were all sitting there, and it was getting awkward because he kept stumbling, and he was getting confused and flustered, and we just kind of kept looking at each other like, But I actually did try to smile, even though it was probably patronizing. I was trying to be polite, at least, and supportive in my own way. At any rate, the guy, he got hopelessly lost. It was really sad. He didn't know. He just got confused. The verses are long, sort of similar, and he froze. So there he was, standing there, just totally frozen, not sure what to do. He's with people who he knows, but they're not his family. And it was uncomfortable. Like, I remember how uncomfortable it felt. No one knew what to do. And then my dad, God bless him, my dad stood up. It was actually at our house, so it kind of made sense in a way, but my dad walked over and stood next to him, put his arm around him, and my dad started singing, "Fall on your knees, oh hear the angel voices." And that was what the song, like where they were in the song, I believe. And then this guy remembered the words, and he took, obviously, it's a lot easier to sing when someone's standing next to you. So this solo became a duet, and my dad finished it with him. Man, even as a punky teenager, I knew I'd seen something really special that night. Like, I knew my dad was a good man. Not perfect, but he was a good man, and he was doing something like that for someone else. And that made a huge impact on me. I'm sure it made an impact on this brother, or this gentleman as well. Anyway, yeah, be like my dad. It's a good way to be. I'm really lucky I had that example. Well, I'm sending you all so much love. Hope you're all well, and I'll catch you later. Love, your internet grandpa.